Columbine happened in 1999. I remember in college, I actually did a report on the Columbine shooters. Since then, we've had 420 school shootings in the US. 160 of those have been since COVID. 2024, mass shootings started to decline, but not school shootings. Since Columbine, 390,000 students have been exposed to a school shooting. That is a lot of children. We're thinking about the kids that we send to school every day and entrust them to be safe and to gain the education that they deserve and should be getting in peace. We could talk about gun laws, but that's a different show. That's a different host. That's a different podcast. That's a different arena, and we're not going to talk about that here. We are talking about the mental and spiritual health as it pertains to the shooters of the school shooters. And at some point, we have to be honest with ourselves. They have been victims of something. In 2025 alone, as of April 28th, there have been 6 school shootings. Think about that. I've heard of maybe 1 or 2, and they were at universities. April 15th, 5 students were injured in a school shooting in Dallas, Texas. A 17-year-old opened fire, then turned the gun onto himself. It was said by investigators that he was targeting a specific student due to a dispute. We think about students who are being bullied. We think about students who are dealing with things at home that are that are out of their control. We think about what are our children dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and we don't know how they're handling these things emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even physically. So there was a article that I read that I will put into the show notes. It was called "The Mind of the Mass School Shooter" by Harold Schwartz. And I wanted to really dive into understanding the mental health of a school shooter. So there were 4 different things that came from this article that I wanted to share for this episode. Number 1, loneliness and isolation are big risk factors. Many school shooters struggle with deep loneliness. Even if they have friends around them, even if they're going home to a family, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are in tune with themselves. It doesn't necessarily mean that they feel apart, right? Think about when they're going to school. Who's a part of their social group? Do they fit in with that social group? Do they have a sense of self? Do they have those interpersonal skills to be able to be with themselves and yet find relatability in their peer circles? They often have few friends, weak family connections, and feel disconnected from the world around them. They have experiences like bullying, being expelled from school, or rejection that can make the isolation that they're feeling 100 times worse. Number 2, there is no real simple profile to predict a school shooter. Now, what we see is the school shooter is Caucasian, they're male, and there is something within them that has been the same throughout all of the school shooters, even in the colleges and universities, even in those mass shootings that we see that are not geared towards schools. While some warning signs are common, like untreated mental health issues, family problems, or past trauma, most people with these issues will never commit violence. Which is something that I want to highlight that we will also dive into today's episode. There is no perfect checklist or profile that can predict who will become a shooter. We cannot predict that, unfortunately. We can look at the trends. We can look at the research. We can look at what has been, and we still cannot predict who will become a mass shooter. Number 3, there's a loss of empathy that happens. I know we've seen the horror films, the Mike Myers, all of that, guilty as charged, where we see them just lose empathy for pets, for nature, for their siblings, for people. Before committing violence, many shooters lose their ability to empathize with others. They stop seeing people as real human beings and which makes it easier for them to commit these acts without guilt or remorse. I know a lot of times when we see these things happen, there's this manifesto that is taking place where this shooter wants to leave a legacy and be known, right? Because they're not known in their waking life. They're not known and gaining that attention and that recognition in their everyday life among their peers, among their family. But really what this is they've tapped out. Their heart is cold. There's a lot internally that they've now just kind of allowed to blacken and disconnect from. And number 4, it is complicated. To really identify the mental health of a school shooter is complicated because it's more than just the mental illness. School shootings cannot be explained just by mental illness alone. Social factors like isolation, cultural influences, personal struggles, and deep psychological issues all come together. So we're talking about what is the holistic makeup of this person. It's more than just their mental health and their ability to rationalize and connect with others. How are they managing those struggles? How is their spiritual health? Are they in tune with themselves? Do they have older people that they can look up to, that they can talk to and reason with? It is important to look at the full picture of that person, their situation, their livelihood, their ability and lack of ability to connect. And I know we might think that they're too young for them to even tap into this, but do they have a sense of purpose and belonging? We've got to do a better job with teaching our children about having a sense of purpose and belonging. We have to. It's going to change over time, true enough. But is there a sense of purpose and belonging that these children feel? School shooters, again, often feel isolated and disconnected from others. There is no way to predict when someone will become a school shooter. And we also want to take into account what is their experience. As I shared, there was a shooting in April where a young student, a 17-year-old, went after another student, causing 5 people to be harmed because of a dispute. Bullying. This is abuse also. I am honored and excited to share this conversation with a good friend from high school, Mark, who I adored in high school, and I'm grateful that he trusted me with his story. He trusted me with his experience. He trusted me with his healing to be able to share it with all of you. His experience not as a juvenile, but his experience as a child and growing up, and what this turned into for him as the work that he does today. He's got a book coming out. He's got some amazing things coming out. I guess I can share it now because he shared it on Facebook, but he has a movie that he is working on also that is coming out, centered around the healing, the mental health healing and the spiritual health healing with youth who are being bullied and dealing with other life changes and trauma, so that we can start working with policy makers and community activists on how to limit these school shootings. There's school shootings happening that we're not even hearing about. That's how massive this has become. So take a nice big inhale and exhale. Grab some comfort, a comfort drink, tea, something, and just allow yourself to connect with your breath as we tune into this episode. And welcome back to the Soul Work Podcast with Love. My name is Love Ashley Elaine, and Huh, y'all, I think I actually rather do interviews on my podcast than talk by myself, even though I know if I talk by myself, I'm going to be talking for days. I have the honor and the privilege of having a beautiful high school friend, Mr. Mark Hulsewe. I'm gonna tap into his bio because, my God, he is a visionary spiritual leader dedicated to catalyzing a global shift in consciousness. And it's true because the conversation we just had before I hit record, yes, shaped by early experiences of bullying and identity questioning, his life path has been one of deep exploration into the nature of self, spirituality, and human potential, drawing from ancient wisdom, traditions of Hermeneuticism, Buddhism, and not I'm gonna say this wrong. I'm always gonna say it wrong. Not
No, no,
Gnosticism.
yeah, yes, you said it right.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm like, wait a minute. I try to practice words before I get on here. And bridging them with modern science, neuroscience, and AI, Mark offers a profound synthesis of Stoic knowledge and conscious evolution. His beautiful TED Talk and powerful short film on school shooting crisis reframes the issue as a spiritual and conscious crisis, highlighting the urgent need for collective awakening. Such a beautiful thing. Mark believes humanity is on the brink of extraordinary transformation, one that can elevate us to new levels of civilization by healing the root cause of fear, violence, and division. Through his upcoming book, Educational Reform Initiatives and Global Advocacy, Mark is building a movement rooted in emotional intelligence, empathy, and liberation from destructive systems. His mission is very clear: awaken humanity to its divine potential and lead the way to a more conscious and compassionate world. Please give it up for my beautiful high school friend, Mr. Mark. How are you? Welcome to the Soul Tribe.
I'm so glad to be here, Ashley. And the universe brought us around for a reason, and I'm so grateful to share this space with you, and to continue to share the similar message that we have, and just expand on that. That's ultimately why I'm here, is to help awaken humanity and just realize the deeper questions and the deeper meanings, and like the whys. Like, what is your why? And so many people don't have that. They don't have their
Mm,
purpose. They don't know what they don't know. They're on the ship, and but they're on the ship, but they're not the captain of their own ship. They're just letting the waves take them wherever they go, and you can't. And I believe this knowledge that we're going to talk about and that we're going to share is going to give them a blueprint straight to the captain's quarters for them to take the wheel and to take charge of their life and their own destiny.
yeah, I love that. That's literally how I got into like my own transformation. Is I just hit this point of like, what is this? What am I supposed to be doing? Is what I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And then it just started, when you ask a question, you got to be ready for the answer and how the answer comes. And it just opened up the door to therapy and all kinds of healing modalities. And I love when I can see that and sense that in other people, and it's like, ooh, like the spidey senses start doing a thing. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for your healing. Thank you for the shifts that you said yes to, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all. You're only the second person from high school that I've interviewed. Tamara was the first one.
Who was?
Tamara.
Oh my gosh, Tamara. Yeah, I remember Tamara. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm very selective on the people that I have in my space. So yes. When I saw your TED Talk and just been paying, like, the algorithm is like, okay, it's time for you to see people and
Right,
seeing
exactly.
your work, and I was just like, yeah, we need to chat.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us what it's been, it's been over 20 years. It will be 20 years this year, our 20-year
Yeah, no,
reunion this
our
summer.
20 year, the 20-year reunion is this year, I think, in the summer. So yeah, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of on the planning committee, kind of. But the last 20 years, tell us what you've been up to. Like what has happened to where you are now like shifting into where you are? Give us your story.
Oh man. And this is where I could talk for days, like the complexities and the sheer amount that's in my story. Like it would be like a dictionary, like super thick. It's but to try to summarize the everything in the shortest period of time. Um, my childhood is what drove my one yearning for transformation. I was, aside from the bullying that I went through with school, extreme bullying, I was also dealing with sexual abuse. And, going back to the bullying, it's people just hurting each other. I never understood why people hurt each other so much. And I did not, it was such a foreign concept to me because I'm just a kind human being, you know, and I like to help people, and I've always wanted to help people, and people were always making fun of me, and I just never understood why. I know and I transitioned from grade school, from public school to private school, and it was the same, and that made me feel very introverted, very quiet. I didn't get friends, no girlfriends. I just didn't have anybody to talk to, and I experienced extreme depression at a very, very early age. And basketball was the only outlet that I had, playing basketball in high school. And
Yeah.
that was super fun. And I realized, that was like the only fun that I was having. And even then people were like, oh, because you're tall, you should be a basketball player. I was like, okay, I guess I should be a basketball player, and just, I had no sovereignty of my entity. I did not know who I was. I didn't know why I was here. I didn't understand why people are so mean to each other. And it baffled me, and I was just lived in a state of confusion, and fast forward, I went to college. I studied business and finance. 4 years into my accounting job, I'm like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I received, I just received a point where I just was not happy with everything. I had a good job and whatever, but like I was in the box and I was depressed, and I heard somebody talk about visualization, and I visualized myself doing that same job 10, 20, 30 years in the future. And I go like, no, there's no, I can't, there has to be another way.
Mm.
I, from there, I picked up the first book that really transformed my life. It was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Mm.
And that's what really just shifted my perspective. And I used to hate reading. I really struggled academically in school because I was dealing with so much bullying. I had no drive to study. I was too depressed to study. I wasn't remembering anything.
Yeah.
And so the teachers were like, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And they had no idea the suffering that I was going through in the background that was impairing my ability to learn. And like I just started hating reading because we were forced to read books that gave me no benefit to our lives,
Yeah.
but that book at 25 years old was the spark of self-learning and self-actualization, and realizing that, wow, there's so much information in that book that just really just, wow, if I just knew this earlier, okay, so what other books can I read?
Mm.
And long story short, that's what led me to change my sort of path with life and career, and I started going into entertainment. And I got my first gig over at Disney World, of being, friends with Chewbacca. And that experience what is where I learned about energy. I was so
Mm.
ignorant of energy beforehand, right? So before, people made fun of me for my height. They projected their insecurities onto me. And, I when I was in that environment, there was so much positive energy. It went from being
Yeah.
so much negative energy to so much positive energy,
Mm.
and it was like receiving a revolving door of positive energy with every single guest that was there. And that's where I was like, wow, so my height can be something good. You know, I can do it for something good. People aren't making fun of
Mm,
me for being tall. They're like loving it. It was such a weird shift that happened. And that's when I learned about the whole energy thing. And from there,
mm,
I went to so one of the guys at the Indiana Jones stunt show was like, "Hey, you'd be good at our stunt show." And so I met the casting director, and I started doing stunts there. And somebody else was the stunt coordinator, and they were like, "Man, you'd be good for our show in Miami." And I started doing stunts in the TV and film world for several years, and I loved it. I was expanding. I was having life turned into a playground. It went from
yeah.
being a curse to like a play. It started to be much more fun.
Mm,
But then there came a point where I was like, yeah, this is fun, but like, what do I really want to do? And my calling, I've always wanted to help people, right?
mm,
How can I help people? I want to help the children. How can I help the children? It's the school shooting crisis.
mm,
We're going to go back to that door, which is what my TED talk and my
yeah.
film was about, is the school shooting crisis that has not been resolved since Columbine. Columbine was 25, now 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And since then, there have been over 400 school shootings, and neither party have really done anything about it. They've talked about it. They've done some little bit of gun reform, but that's the problem. They're barking up the wrong tree. It's not guns, it's mental health.
Yeah.
I wish they would switch that conversation, and that's why I'm trying to spread this awareness even more on this issue. It's a spiritual crisis, which
Yeah.
is part of the mental crisis. They're correlated with each other. And that's where my calling card is now. Is I did my TED talk, and now I just finished producing my film. We're going to be submitting some film festivals, and we're just trying to create basically a shock and awe campaign, because the film is it's not a pretty film. The audience experiences a school shooting, but they experience the why behind it. They see
Yeah.
why it's happening. And the majority of school shooters, and there's multiple articles that have read this. The majority of school shooters have been extremely bullied and humiliated
Mm,
because this country doesn't care about morals and ethics and values.
yeah.
Where school is failing the children, where they are still failing the children, is telling us that grades are all get good grades. Good grades are all that
Yeah.
matter. Get good grades, good college, good degree, good job. You'll sing kumbaya. Your
Mm-hmm.
morals, values, integrity, they mean nothing. So because of that, you have a whole bunch of kids on SSRIs that are wanting to kill each other. And that's another connection that RFK Jr. is wanting to do. The school shooters with the SSRIs, and also the suicide crisis as well. It's not just the school
Yeah.
shootings, the suicide. The kids are all ending themselves because they see
Yeah.
no hope. But then they're given drugs, black box warning labels that say increased suicidal tendencies. We're not having that conversation, you know.
We're
So I see
not.
like
Yeah.
I see the big picture. I see the big picture of what's going on, and it comes down to the consciousness crisis, which is this is the whole thing of what I'm talking about. And that's
Yeah.
that's my story. That's my story in a nutshell. And just trying to push to continue to light the flame and
Mm,
help people see the shadow side of humanity that's hurting everyone.
yeah. Yeah. Woo. I I love how you share with us that like your experience with bullying, even the sexual abuse and just what your childhood in what you endured in your childhood, and now seeing that there's correlation in a lot of the school shooters, and we're talking about school shootings, we're talking about even like Virginia Tech, like we're talking about
Yes.
just school shootings, period, on any level. The elementary school, like just on every single level. It is beautiful to see that one, you chose the route of healing, no matter
Thank
what
you.
that rage, what that anger, what that pain was
Yeah.
doing to you internally.
Right.
You chose the path of healing and understanding,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And also seeing how what you experienced what that looks like in other people in these school shootings, because what happened was in school, right? What happened to you took place in school. It took place during that age group. And that
Correct.
age range, I'm so big into like childhood development, been working with kids since, I mean, I was working at the Boys and Girls Club in Carver Shores when I was 15. But it's like
Right.
it's that age range is so susceptible to everything, good, bad, and indifferent. Um, so it's very beautiful to see how literally you've taken your pain, you see it in these kids, in this mass shooting thing that's happening more than what's being reported. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that,
Oh, for
right?
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's so much they're happening every day, and we don't even know how many are even happening as we're speaking right now. And then turn like literally turning your pain into your purpose.
Absolutely. It's aside from the mass shootings, you see the okay, let's play the what if scenario. Take away the guns, right? Guess what? You have stabbing problems, just like the UK, just like Australia, just like
Hmm.
China. Okay,
Hmm.
that's not enough. The Boston bombing, remember that? Okay, that's
Hmm.
not enough. Okay, what about New Year's of this year? A man drove his car straight through a crowd in New Orleans.
Hmm.
People will manifest their hatred into destruction, and they will use whatever tool they want. That's why the conversation has to shift from guns to mental health. The
Yeah.
second we shift resources to mental health and really helping out kids and young adults and adults of every age group, mental health is a every age category. People are hurting, people are struggling. You know,
Yeah.
once we really prioritize mental health, just like we should be doing physical health, then everything changes.
Yeah.
The whole culture changes, society changes, and and just everything changes. Like this is much more than just like some fad diet. This is something very deep. And once people
Yeah.
are willing to go that deep, you shift the collective consciousness, and you have a future that is full of hope and joy instead of fear and sorrow and depression.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the spiritual health of a person is what controls all of the rest of the
Yes,
body,
yes,
right?
yes,
So when we're talking about soul work and spiritual healing and spiritual wellness, we're talking about where do you feel like you belong?
yes,
Because belonging is a part of that.
absolutely.
Belonging is okay, I can have several different groups of friends and feel like I belong in all those groups of friends,
Right,
right?
right.
And there's there's like a sense that sense of self, right? There's no sense, no one is teaching how to do interpersonal work in high school,
It's
in
because
middle school. Yeah.
has anybody asked why? It's because of John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller founded the Board of Education in 1903, and he said very infamously, I want a nation of workers, not thinkers.
Mhm.
Thus, the
Yeah.
American education system was born. And that might have worked for the Industrial Revolution. You needed factory workers, but we have technology up the butt now. It's not a technology issue. It's a supply chain issue. It's a spiritual issue, and
Yeah.
that's why all the kids are destroying themselves. You have the cell phone, which is people don't realize how powerful that is. You have access to infinite knowledge right in your
Hmm.
phone, and you choose to watch videos that do not help your life, and
Yeah.
and it's sad, and that's because these kids don't have purpose. They're driven by dopamine addiction in their brain, and that's the Instagram. That's the it's the instant. That's the name of the profile, right? The instant
Yeah.
gratification. So we have to move from long-term purpose out of short-term gratification into figuring out what your long-term purpose is, and figuring out,
Yeah.
and if people, for those that don't know what their purpose is, your purpose is to serve one another. That is why we are here. We are here to serve one another. Now, how you serve, that's your creative field. What do you love to do? You
Mhm.
could write a book, cook good food, open your own restaurant, produce whatever. You want to be a teacher, be a math teacher, that's fine too. And then use that to the world. Use your gift to the world. Everyone has a gift. Your job is to find that gift, master that gift, and then give it to the world.
Yeah.
We're not taught
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah. Oof. Oof. Man, this is big. Um, so I do yoga with 3-year-olds, 3 to 5-year-olds. It's the
Right.
cutest thing ever, but you get to see them learn themselves,
Right.
right? And I think there's this space where we feel like, oh, they're just kids. They don't know what they want to do. They don't know what they're supposed to do. We'll put this on them. We'll put this in them. So I think even you pointing out the fact that like people were just like, "Oh, you're tall, you should play basketball." Right? I had that too. It's like, "Oh, you're tall, you should play basketball," or "Oh, you're tall, you should model," or "Oh, you're tall, you should do this." And
Right.
it's like, "Well, yeah, sure, I'll do that," because there's this status quo of you
Stereotypes.
right, you have this physical societal norm that's supposed to fit with this particular thing, this particular income, this particular job, right? Um, I also wanted to touch back on you shared so much, so I'm trying to like
Yeah,
process.
I apologize in advance again.
No, no,
I
no, it
just
was rich.
so much. I try to condense it, and I talk a lot, and I try to.
No, it's so rich. That's it. That's the thing. Like it's so rich that I don't want to miss anything, right? Because there's so much to highlight, especially with like the gun violence. A friend that I had on the show last week, her organization is around gun violence. Like how do we get kids off the street and away from this? And same thing, it's the mental health.
Yes.
Um when we talk about, so let's tap back into like the energy work, right? And the visualization. Tell me about what that experience was for you in really understanding energy and looking at what your energy could have been like from what you experienced. Did you ever like sit with that and just kind of say, "Oh, like I could have chose a different route because of the energy that was given to me?"
Ooh, like you mean if I like had this knowledge earlier?
Or if you didn't have it at all, like once you got it, was there ever a moment where it was like, wow, like I could have
Oh,
ended up going a different
uh,
route.
I play the alternate universe game more often than I like. Not anymore because now I'm living in my highest timeline. So now that
Yeah.
I'm all in on what I'm doing and I don't think about anything else. But I definitely used to think, what if I just really just went down the basketball path?
Hmm.
There's again, I don't want to branch off too much because there's so many different paths I could
Of
be talking
course.
about, but there's a lot of different routes I could have gone in my life had I
Yeah.
chosen the easier way, had I chosen the way of conformity. You know, I had to do a lot of shadow work to understand
Mm,
who I was, who I am, why am I here, and it's not quick. It's a long time, and it's different for everyone. But it is you have to go to the depths of your soul that your teachers, your guidance counselors, your parents are going to talk about.
yeah.
And that's where the true you actually is. And once you figure out who the true you is, once you do the shadow work, you see how much light you actually have. And then you try to figure out how to share that light with the world.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more about shadow work. I love talking about shadow work, FYI, but I want them to hear it from somebody else because I'm planning an episode on shadow work. But it's nice that you are like you speak on that because people are scared to touch the dark.
And they will never all those that operate that way, they will never find themselves. And it's because it is scary because we don't talk about it. We highlight the good, we highlight the great. That is on social media, it is the highlight reel. Everyone thinks it's a whole positive thing, and everyone hides the darker aspects of themselves. And what shadow work is the human spirit is a yin and yang spirit. One of the philosophies that I studied deeply was Hermeticism. As above, so below, as within, so without. The law of correspondence, the law of vibration, the law of frequency. cause and effect, the law of polarity. All these things make sense once you understand the bigger picture and who we are as spiritual beings, not just this low density meat, flesh and bone, searching for pleasure. That's the great illusion. That is the great illusion. And then there's so many ancient traditions that talk about the tradition that and lifting the veil and realizing that we are spiritual beings. And
Mm.
as spiritual beings, we have shadow sides. We have light side and shadow side, the positive and negative, light and dark, warm and cold. It's the parts of ourselves that we hide, that we bury to the world, but we go home to it every single night when we go to sleep. And
Mhm.
what do you choose to do with that? Are you that energy that's holding you down, that's keeping you in fear and anger and a low vibration and a low frequency?
Yeah.
That is your shadow side, whatever that is. Your duty is to excavate that, look at it, stare right, not run from it. You stare at it in the face and be like, okay, what's up? What do I need to learn from you?
Literally.
What do I need to learn from you? Okay, I need to learn this and this and this and this. And you will get lessons from the universe endlessly until you finally switch and change and confront that. And once you truly confront that shadow portion of yourself, the light ignites and the shadow disappears into the ether. And
Yeah.
you get to go forward and charge on into your real true self, a divine
Yeah.
being capable of infinite potential.
Yeah. I always believe that there is and we touched on it a little bit before I hit record, but that there is a divine version of us, right? But there's these
Yes.
life
Yeah.
experiences that we go through and have to go through to
Yeah.
get back to that version of us and
Yes.
really step fully into um that divine being, that soul work, that helper, that healer, that person, that soulful entity in this system, in this portal, right?
Right.
To do what we were supposed to do, to expose what we're supposed to expose, to create what we're supposed to create. Um, because we are part of the divine, so we are also creators, right?
Exactly.
And and even to your point, something that you said before about um like people manifesting hate,
Right.
manifesting jealousy, manifesting evilness, all of those, right? It's a reminder that we are all manifestors,
Exactly. Good and bad.
good and bad, right? And you have control over what you manifest.
That's the secret. That's the
We
great secret that's been known for thousands of years. The greatest teachers have known this, and now the reason why this is the greatest time period to be alive is because you're no longer bound to the ignorance of the city that you were born in around the world. Now you have access to global information, and we now have access to this. This is deep information that has been hidden by some powerful structures, but there has been ancient seers and prophets and magicians from the past that have known this, that have shared it. The Buddha, Krishna, Vishnu, Jesus, etc.
Mhm.
It's but now we're in the period where everyone has access to this knowledge. So it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing to witness.
And the veil right now is so thin. It's
Yeah.
it's it's wide open.
Oh yeah.
Um, I was just talking to a friend. It's just like the cosmos are cosmoing. It's they are doing a thing, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like the most potent time to go inward and tap into your soul, tap into your being, get out of the ego, right? It's a time for people to be exposed to which one they're tapped into, also, right? When we're
Exactly.
talking about the power of manifestation and even just how these school shootings get manifested, it's like, oh, you're not tapped into your soul. You're
Yep.
tapped into ego,
Yes. Yep.
right? You're tapped into a completely different space, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And it's like whoever was nurturing that child,
Yep.
where were they tapped into,
Exactly.
right? They were
Yeah.
tapped into fear or not enoughness or whatever was happening with them to not be able to nurture this child so that they can tap into their soul, tap into their inner self. Um, oh, that's powerful.
It is.
So tell me about like your book, the movie, if you want to share the movie, because
Yeah.
what is it, what does advocacy look like for you now moving forward with, really coming out on the other side so beautifully, Mark, so beautifully from the things that you've endured? Because let me tell you, you're also only the second man on my show.
Oh wow. I'm honored.
So, like when I tell
Well,
you,
a lot of men are not. This is divine feminine energy that we're talking about. And
hmm
so many guys, they have no clue what even that even means. They're stuck on like, I'm a man and I need to do this and I need to do that. And then that's a whole, it's lower consciousness,
yeah,
and it's heartbreaking to see the potential of human beings suffocated, and that's my entire purpose. I'm trying to uncork all these negative energies that are bottling people in of power, and it's not their fault. It's power structures that have built in. The system is the way it is because was designed that way. We were designed to be kept quiet, to be in fear, to live in ignorance, and we see that hatred manifestation everywhere globally. But now we are living in the age of consciousness, Aquarius, enlightenment, and we're seeing the collective shift happening. One of the major goals of my film is to get in front of certain politicians. Like I need the
mm,
synergy of three. I'm looking for the synergy of three certain individuals. Melania Trump, because she's super anti-bullying. Uh,
hmm
Linda McMahon, who's the new Secretary of Education, because we need to reform education to include emotional intelligence as early as possible. And lastly is RFK Jr. because he's doing the connections of the SSRIs, antidepressants, and the increased suicidal tendencies. These
mm,
are hard things to talk about, but we got to bring it together. We do this, and and synergize all these energies and really prioritize mental health in this nation. That will be an immediate thing that we can do to drastically reduce the school shooters, because there's all the school shooters. None of them woke up one day and was like, "Today's a great day to shoot up a school." Never. It's always over a long period of time. Develop energy can't be created or destroyed. They're
right,
absorbing all these negative energy and they explode one day. There's a lot. How many bombs are ticking right now? I'm trying to prevent the next school shooting from
yeah.
happening by taking action right now. And that's the huge push of what I'm trying to do for them. And outside of that, just do collective spiritual awakening by igniting the flame inside of every human soul.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. There's so much policy work that can be changed around mental health. I just got an email about something from Rutgers about that, but there's so much policy work that is needed around mental health and youth mental health and
Revolution.
education, all of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And even like with the political landscape being what it is, I'm also in the space where it's like, yeah, go ahead, let's just tear all this down anyway,
Right.
because it was already trash.
You're right.
All of it was already trash. So when you're done destroying everything that you're destroying, all of us are having meetings, we're doing the things, we're tapping into our spiritual selves and our higher consciousness and shifting timelines and doing the work, getting the rest,
Yeah.
right? Saying no to the dead end jobs, saying yes to calling, saying yes to purpose, saying yes to advocacy, so that we can rebuild it and
Yes.
rebuild it the way it needs to. Because we're still talking about like the spirit of racism, the spirit of feminism, the spirit of capitalism, right? Like those are all spiritual entities that have been embedded into this land for so long. So when we're talking, so when you say energy cannot be created or destroyed, it's always here. It's like, okay, well now we all have a choice in which end of the energy stick do we want to tap into?
Exactly. That's and that's but people don't even know they have access to that because of television programming. Like, look at the word programming. It's
Hmm.
written there. People they aren't even aware that they have this power. And that's my duty is to let them know the power that they have, and then to access and use that power for greater good
Yeah,
until we reach a point of, once enough people get this and make that shift, because once you understand this, your life permanently changes. You will never go back to the
permanently.
way you were before. You'll have issues always. We're human beings as part of this contract of being a human.
Hmm.
But once you have that knowledge, you have the full power of persevering through any single obstacle in your life. And once you have access to that divinity of that divine energy within you, you become an unstoppable force, and you see miracles manifesting in your life beyond imagination. And if we do that collectively, just the entire world changes. I see an entirely different Earth in like 10 to 20 years than it is right now,
Yeah.
because once enough people reach this point, we reach critical mass, light overtakes the darkness, and we usher in a new era. And this new era, I believe, will be this way for thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do any work with kids?
I used to work with kids as a Taekwondo instructor.
Okay. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Oh,
Yeah,
cool. So
that, that was
they
that was
understand the chi.
they get a basic understanding of energy and respect and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kids are incredible. They're they're more connected than people give them credit for. And if you just allow them to tap into their creativity, there's so much incredible power and creation can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, any final thoughts? Anything else that you want to kind of leave the Soul Tribe with? You shared so much and it was, I mean, you don't need much, but it was just impactful. Like, I think you just sharing the depths of your story, and thank you for your vulnerability. And showing us what it looks like to really take hold of your own energy, really take hold of your own trauma and turn it completely into your purpose. Um, with no intention of harming anybody. I think that's the part that's like blowing me for some reason because like it's that old saying like hurt people, but it's like yeah, but healed people also heal people also.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, you have a choice in what you do with your pain. Like you can bleed out all over everybody, or you can go fix up the wounds, heal yourself, clean up the
Mhm.
wounds, do what you need to, tap back into yourself, right? Allow
Yes.
yourself to cleanse that, remove that, and transmute it into like alchemists, literal alchemists. It's alchemy.
So I was transmuting just in the past 5 seconds. I swear to you, actually, I was transmuting Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist in my brain. There,
Sit that right there.
there it is. There it is, right there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm working on a 5 week coaching program called Soul Work. It's going to be
yeah,
like my signature program. And that just like came to me. I love that book.
so
Love
good.
that book. Like when I came back from Cambodia, I couldn't sleep because time zone is like crazy. And I laid down and I just heard Spirit say, read The Alchemist. And I was like, okay. So, because I was trying to find it while I was there, and the version that I found was more like the play.
Right,
But I still bought it because who has that?
right.
Um, and when I read it, I swear to you, I read it within like 2, 3 days, and I was just like, okay, all right, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path. Yeah, but it's literal alchemy. And it's not. it's not often that you see people literally turn their pain into their purpose and create such beautiful advocacy work around that. You're gonna get those three spaces that you're trying to get your film in front of. I believe that wholeheartedly. I feel that.
It's you know when you have that feeling that is the just instinct that's just telling you everything. I've never felt this in my life, Ashley, and because I know this is so big, and how big it is just for the collective. There's everything's falling in the right place, and I'm just super grateful of the many miracles. I'm gonna leave off with two things.
Mhm.
One is a short miracle that I'm going to share about how the movie had an obstacle in the movie and how the universe made it happen. And then I'm going to recommend a couple of books for either yourself or the readers because I just
Of
believe in
course.
follow through.
Yeah.
So the greatest obstacle I had with creating this film, the film I created is called In Plain Sight for obvious reasons. And we filmed most of it, but the most important scene was we needed an actual school, right? And trying to find schools that were okay with what we wanted to do was impossible. I signed all the forms, filled out everything, and when they came to, hey, why do you want to rent our facility? They go like, oh, we understand it's for a good cause, but because of the nature of what it is, we can't do it. And I was getting very frustrated because the film, we needed a classroom. This cannot be completed without a school.
Mhm.
And I remember I was scrolling through Facebook one day and my recommendations came through and it was Mrs. Mayhew. Mrs. Mayhew. And I clicked on her profile.
Wow.
Turns out she's the principal at a charter school across the way. I gave her a message. I told her what I'm trying to do, and she said, "Mark, you can use my entire school."
We all loved her. We all knew her and Rago was together
Yeah,
too.
no, yeah, she's an amazing, amazing woman. But
Oh,
she made this miracle come true, and it's the whole like your faith can move mountains, and you never know because that was many months I was looking for this with walls. And then just right when I was like, okay, I don't want to give up, but like, and then I
yeah.
swear, like within a day or two, I got that. So there's that, and then the three books that I'm going to recommend. There's so many books I've read, and that's a part of your own evolution. You gotta drown in personal development books.
Right.
Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, Power versus Force by David Hawkins, and then reality transurfing. That book is impossible to get. It was developed by a Russian intelligence, and
Mm,
but the audio is there on reality transurfing. So go into those three, and your understanding of everything will change, and that will definitely give you guidance on what you for your deeper development in your life.
yeah. Yeah. I'll make sure to put those in the show notes also so people can access them. I kept saying I love reading. Like if I ever have to like leave everything, you're not taking my books, you're not taking my shoes, you're not taking my clothes. Um but I've always wanted to do like not a book club, but get partnered with some agencies or places or online book places that can do some sponsorship work with me around like books, right? Because if you want to know anything, it's in a book.
It really is. We're so grateful. We're so blessed to again be in the age of information. It's all right there.
All right there.
Use use it.
Yes.
Do not get
Yes.
left in the dust for your own ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Mark,
But
it's such a
yeah,
pleasure.
yeah,
Such a pleasure. Man, this isn't our last time in
for
this
sure.
space together.
For sure.
Whatever it is that you need, I'm here. I'm sure it's vice versa, but I love tapping back in with people from high school because it's like that was our like that was just an age.
It
Like
was
high school.
such a different world. It was, gosh, I mean, the spiritual world that we're in, and like the vibrational 3D world, that is just
It's wild, right? It like there's days where high school feels like it just ended yesterday, and then there's days where it's like it ended literally 25 years ago and it was really 20. So, I remember you from like I remember you from high school. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I went to high school with him. Like I remember you. You've always been so genuine,
yeah.
always so kind-hearted, always so sweet, gentle. Like you were just a genuinely good fucking person. Like so when you share some of the things that you experienced during that time, like so much more power to you. And I know what that's like high school, it was we were family, like in some form or fashion we were family. So you always have a home here on soul work with love, right? And again, if there's anything you need, and like I know we're gonna be collaborating on some stuff. I can feel it.
You actually so much. You everything you said to me back at you a hundredfold. You are truly a wonderful human being too. You were always kind to me back then. Thank you for being one of the few kind human beings to me, and thank you for your work that you're doing to awaken people and to share healing and to just share the truth. And the truth
Yeah.
is
The truth is gonna set us all free. I
woohoo.
believe that.